Have you ever seen or been to a mansion owned by an American old money family? Now and then, we hear about the beauty of Gilded Age America. This beauty was deeply rooted in the country's thriving economy, the embrace of technology and modernity, and the sprawling estates owned by the hundreds of old money families scattered across the country. As you already know, old money is the term that describes the unshakable, generational wealth that runs in influential and prominent families. The Gilded Age and early 20th century sprawled with such families, and even more interesting than the value of their fortune was the splendor of their mansions. These massive buildings stood tall as if advertising the wealth and status of their owners. Not only did they stand out during the 1950s, the architectural details of these mansions were far advanced for their era, and even to date, modern architects continue to speak highly of these historic masterpieces. Although many are no longer used as private homes, no one can deny their magnificence. Welcome to the channel. In this video, we will discuss the biggest mansions owned by old money families in America. Be sure to watch till the end, as you don't want to miss the most spectacular Vanderbilt mansions. Now, grab a bottle of your favorite beverage as I take you on an exhilarating adventure. The first mansion I will be talking about is the beautiful BELLOSGUARDO, a luxurious hideout all the way in Santa Barbara, belonging to the Clark family, a wealthy family from the Gilded Age. BELLOSGUARDO attracts much attention, not just because it sits majestically along the coasts of Santa Barbara or because such a prestigious old money family owns it. This Italianate mansion is popularly called the Empty Mansion, and the story behind its existence makes it an old money mansion of interest. The 23-acre property was purchased in 1923 by copper magnate Senator William Clark. Unfortunately, the senator died 2 years after, and the ownership of the mansion was passed on to his widow, Anna. Anna revamped the property and built it into the solid concrete mansion it is today. BELLOSGUARDO served as the summer vacation home of the Clarks, but by 1953, the family stopped visiting it altogether. Decades passed, and Huguette Clark, the daughter of Senator William and his wife Anna, inherited the mansion, but even then, it remained empty. For over 60 years, BELLOSGUARDO was left inhabited, but it remained in immaculate condition as Huguette paid over $40,000 per month as maintenance costs. Huguette, or any member of the Clark family, never visited the mansion, but all their furniture, art and properties remain intact, as if they never left to begin with. Today, the Clark family no longer owns this so-called empty mansion. A foundation now runs it, and for the first time, it is open to public tours, giving everyone a chance to experience the history present within the four walls of this beautiful hideout. Next on the list is the Biltmore Estate, a magnificent property built by a member of the Vanderbilt family. During the Gilded Age, the Vanderbilts were one of the wealthiest families in not just the US, but also the whole of North America, and they had different properties to show for it. The Biltmore Estate is just one of them. To date, it remains one of the family's most prized possessions. Just from setting your gaze on this palatial mansion, one would agree that the estate is fitting for a nobleman and a mighty king. It was built between 1889 and 1895 for George Washington Vanderbilt II, but it would surprise you to know that such a breathtaking chateau was built as a vacation house. George, a famous art collector, would often visit his mother, who had her own property in Asheville. However, after spending several summers with her, he took a liking to the climate and scenery of the area, so much so that he decided to build what he called his little mountain escape. However, nothing about the Biltmore Estate is little, not even in the slightest. This mansion is an actual castle on a hill, built with architecture inspired by the French Renaissance chateau. It has 5 floors, including a basement, and distributed among the other floors are 250 rooms, including 35 bedrooms for family and guests, 43 bathrooms, 65 fireplaces, and 3 kitchens. Unlike many old money mansions from the Gilded Age, the Biltmore Estate is still owned by descendants of George Vanderbilt, making it the biggest private property in America. However, the mansion is no longer a private living area. It is open to members of the public, who are free to visit the mansion and enjoy the rich art and history it provides. Next, let's shift our gaze to the WINTERTHUR Museum, Garden and Library, an old money mansion belonging to the DuPont family. The DuPonts are one of the wealthiest old money families in America, and their influence is heavily concentrated in Delaware. This sprawling mansion is a testament to both their fortune and this influence. It was built in the late 19th century as a home for Henry Francis DuPont, and since its construction, the estate has gradually been expanded into a 97,000 square feet property. In 1951, this palace-like mansion was fully converted into a museum, making it the world's first museum of American furniture and decorative arts. It contains 175 rooms with a total of about 90,000 arts and artifacts on display. The library section of the estate is also vast and impressive, with 87,000 rare books and over 800,000 manuscripts and images. The garden spans over 70 acres, containing several beautiful plants and herbs. Henry Francis DuPont, a horticulturist from Harvard University, designed the garden plan. It has been over 70 years, and this DuPont estate remains one of America's greatest treasures. The museum is now a public property, open to the public, but the DuPont family members remain instrumental in its maintenance. Not only do they make generous financial donations, but they also contribute priceless artifacts passed down through their wealthy ancestry. The next old money mansion I will discuss is a stunning property in Newport known as the Breakers. This estate was built as a vacation home for Cornelius Vanderbilt II in the Gilded Age. Richard Morris Hunt, one of the most prestigious architects of his time, curated the vision for this architectural wonder. For the Breakers, Hunt proposed that the mansion was built in the Renaissance Revival style, a concept that took 3 long years to come to life. The Breakers is so large that it spans over 138,300 square feet, consists of 5 floors, and distributed among these floors are 70 rooms. Based on Cornelius's request, the mansion's structure was built using pure steel, making it a fireproof estate. For many years after its construction, this mansion was the largest and most opulent building in Newport, and fitting for the Vanderbilt, the most powerful and wealthy family in America at the time. Unfortunately, an estate this prestigious could not remain in the family. After the death of Cornelius and his wife, few of their descendants showed interest in inheriting the property. Due to poor interest and lack of an invested owner, the Breakers is no more a property of the Vanderbilt family. It has now been converted into a museum owned and operated by the Newport Preservation Society. Like the other mansions on this list, the Breakers is open for all year-round visits. The final mansion on our list is the Rough Point, another jewel passed on from the Gilded Age. Since its construction in the 1890s, this English manorial-style estate has been owned by several old money folks, and its final owner was Doris Duke, a tobacco heiress often referred to as the richest girl in the world. Although it has had many owners, Rough Point was built initially for Frederick William Vanderbilt. He lived there briefly until he started renting the estate to summer guests. In 1922, the 10-acre estate was sold to James Buchanan Duke, a business tycoon, but when he died 3 years later, the property was passed on to his 12-year-old daughter Doris. Since Doris practically grew up in the estate, her personality is engraved in every corner. For example, the yellow walls in her opulent bedroom, the deep violet curtains, and the resplendent mother-of-pearl furnishings. Additionally, the upper walls of the upstairs hallway are adorned with tropical Zuba prints, which are as vibrant as Doris's personality. Rough Point was just one of Doris's estates, but it was her favorite. After she died in 1993, the mansion's ownership was passed to the Newport Restoration Foundation. Rough Point is now a museum filled with hundreds of art and antiques, all arranged exactly how Doris left them before her death. Tours of the property are held between May and November each year, and at other times, exhibits and auctions are carried out on property grounds. There you have it, the most enormous old money mansions in America. Let us know in the comments which of these mansions stuck out to you, or if there was anyone that we missed. Also, hit like and subscribe to the channel for more old money related content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.